Okay, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
Some dumb guy here. And as 2025 has officially rolled in, what better way to close out and say goodbye to 2024 than to do a complete ranking of every movie from the year that I had seen in the theater. I've never seen anybody do that here on YouTube before. You get the top 10, worst 10, things like that lists, but I've never seen anybody take and just conglomerate everything that they've seen as far as new releases go and put them into one official ranking. And let me just be the first to say, I do not recommend it because that is not an easy job. So we're going to be breaking down this into a multi-part series because there's just no way I'm going to be doing this in one shot and keeping any kind of viewership whatsoever because it's going to be long. And then, consequently, I think, as a follow-up to this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank the films that were re-released in theaters for the year of 2024 as well, as a companion piece. Will that be as long? We'll find out, I guess. So, let's get the ball rolling, and before I do, I'm just going to say flat out, this is not going to be what you expect. There are going to be people that are going to be pissed off. You're going to disagree. You might agree. You might think I'm just batshit crazy. You know what? And that's okay, because there's a comment section down here below where, hey, look, there's a kitty. You can make use of that. And you can have all the commentary you like about what I watched and what I think about it. You can even ask me why I didn't watch said things. And I will be happy to share, because this list, not only is it not going to be in any kind of order you'd probably expect, it's not going to contain what you're going to expect. And that's okay, because I'm me, and you're you, and other people doing their rankings and things that you've seen maybe possibly already. We aren't the same people. So we're going to start off with, from September 6th, Beetlejuice. At the bottom of the barrel. Yep. And you can hate me all you like for that. Bottom line is, this is the only movie I saw in 2024 I wanted to walk out on. This was a complete waste of a film with almost no redeeming qualities. The only thing that kept me going was hope of seeing more Monica Bellucci, which, of course, she had about 5 minutes worth of screen time, and I love that lady. And she was hardly anywhere to be found, so that was a kind of a wasted dream. The height of the kitty. Look at that. Oh, look at all that cute. Yes. Hello, sugar. This was, I think, a wasted effort by Michael Keaton. Whether people agree or disagree that he still has it. I love the man. Always loved the man. I just wasn't feeling it. Whether he has it or not, this wasn't the place to exhibit it. I did enjoy Catherine O'Hara. I haven't seen her in anything whatsoever in probably a couple decades minimum. It was great to see her back at, in her role. Delia, I almost forgot her name. This was likewise the first time I'd ever seen Jenna Ortega in anything, and was happy to see her in it, and I actually enjoyed her as a character for the most part. I really liked her performance, but it gave me some enthusiasm, which I later watched the first season of Wednesday. Absolutely loved it. I'd say those are the only two redeeming factors really in the movie. I was bored out of my mind. Say this, and I only did it because there were maybe 3 of us in the theater and I was in the back row. I pulled my phone out in the middle, probably halfway through the thing, 2/3, and I was on Amazon or Groove or whatever, and I was shopping for better movies to watch to add to my library. I was completely checked out of this film. Blah, so that's why it's at the bottom of my list. Next up on the list, we have from July 12th, Longlegs, directed by Osgood Perkins, son of Anthony Perkins of Psycho fame. I hated this movie. I absolutely hated it. I recall going through and seeing repeated trailers building up to this and finding that although each trailer was markedly different, I had no idea whatsoever what this movie was going to be about prior to walking into it. The trailer represented vibes and tones, but no actual story. I had no idea at all. Okay, fine. You hear say Johnny Cage. Nicolas Cage is in it. Okay, great. You could say maybe his performance was good, but around everything that it was tied up in, complete waste. And I don't understand what the heck I was even watching. I mean, you're gonna take like a Silence of the Lambs kind of storyline in a sense, and then turn it into some kind of funky, evil, paranormal thing that just the two oil and water did not work. Even I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, Micah Monroe here as the lead. I mean, she was okay. She was certainly serviceable. But there wasn't anything story-wise goes, tonally, anything to keep me engaged in this movie. Looking back, I'm actually surprised I didn't want to walk out on this, because I was just hoping at the very end of this there was going to be some kind of tag, something to be like, okay, here's your payoff. And it just didn't happen. So if Longlegs started a trend on my list of horror movies that just completely dropped the ball across the board this year, well, I'll tell you what, Cuckoo is going to continue it on. This one released August 9th, and this one was directed by Tillman Singer. I was fascinated by the trailer of this film, and I couldn't tell if it was a European import kind of film. I couldn't tell if it was American made. The storyline overall was really bizarre, but at the same time intriguing. From the little I could glean of it, I was fascinated. That's about all I can say. So I went into this thing not knowing anything as far as what to expect, except the fact that the trailer hooked me slightly. I was almost lost within the first 10 minutes. I felt the narrative was really disjointed right from the very beginning. And I don't feel I ever really fully recovered. I feel like it had difficulty expressing what it was supposed to be to me as an audience member. Now, Hunter Schafer, the lead actress in this film, I thought she did a really solid job with what she had to work with. I thought her performance was really solid, and I give her props for that. Nothing else worked about this storyline to me. Is not something I'd ever really want to watch again. At least, I don't know. So from December 6th, a movie that flew completely under my radar, right up to the point of the day before I actually discovered it existed, heard somebody randomly mention it on a live stream or something on YouTube, didn't know what it was in reference to, strictly a title and an actor name. I go onto a movie theater website looking for a different film altogether, and I find this movie popped up. I'm like, hey, so this is actually a thing and it's out. What is it? This is from December 6th, directed by Stephen C. Miller. We have Werewolves. This film would be lower on my list, particularly with this group of horror entries. And the only reason it's not is feeling like a low budget film, and I've got the IMDb popped up right here, and I can probably take a look and see real quick if it tells me, and it does not give me a budget, so I can't speculate on that. It felt low budget. However, the werewolf effects, seemingly most of them being practical as far as I could tell, were pretty damn cool. And that's about the only thing I can compliment on this movie. I like Frank Grillo. I like Katrina Law. Neither of them really had any kind of dynamic presence in the film. Lou Diamond Phillips has a very small role in this film. Haven't seen him in decades either. And guess what? Completely wasted. He was bland, he was lifeless, and then he was dead. So Werewolves earns its place in this ranking strictly on effects work and nothing else. This was a nonsensical Purge knockoff, cool premise that was absolutely wasted. So Do not recommend. Rolling back the clock a bit to March 8th, we have a film that I think very much did suffer from an identity crisis, because this movie did not know what it was going to be. And not so much a movie that I thought about walking out on, but a movie that I was trying to figure out if they could figure it out before the credits rolled. And that's probably the only thing that really kept me going. This is Imaginary. This is a movie that kind of threw itself out as having possessed children's toys, only to turn out that it wasn't possessed children's toys, that there was something else going on a paranormal level, only to find out and flip around later on at the very end to be all about possessed children's toys again. None of these things mix at all, and about the only thing I could say this movie had going for it is that the lead actress, DeWanda Weiss, was hot as hell. That was about the only thing that really drew me in. The trailers were kind of cool. For those of you that might remember, you've got the quote-unquote possessed children's toy, the little bear or whatever. It's in a hallway. It's got like a sheet or something over it, and it's got this little pull string, and it's all over the place, and this guy's in this dark hallway, and he steps on the string as this bear's rolling away. The sheet falls off, and there's nothing underneath it, I think. Is that how that played out? You know, there was some kind of cool imagery there, but aside from that, she was my lure, and was not worth it. So we move on as we step. We are leaving the horror genre temporarily from December 20th. A film that I had seen no trailers for. A film that had basically no marketing, and at this point I'd only seen a poster on top of that synopsis I read. But I said from December 20th, this is Homestead. And Homestead is directed by Ben Smallbone. That's a rather unfortunate moniker. I didn't pick up on the fact that this was an Angel Studios release prior to watching it, or otherwise I might have had second thoughts about going. I'm not a religious man. Respect to every single one of you out there who are. I've never been. This movie starts preaching at me, starts going about men bad, woman good, men do wrong, women do right. Not what I would expect from a message like that from a studio that does a lot of faith-based programming. Fortunately, that was all at the end of the movie. However, I couldn't get out of there soon enough. When the end actually popped up on screen, I jumped out and I was gone. The premise was, solid. It's something we've seen before. Hey, big nuclear disaster hits the United States, all hell breaks loose, society breaks down, and a group of people gather on this ranch property owned by a man who is inexplicably, in advance, prepared for exactly this kind of circumstance, which is never explained. So all of a sudden, everybody knows to go there. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Why is this guy prepared specifically for this kind of level of emergency? This film stars Neil McDonough. I saw him on the poster, and I'm like, okay, he is always solid as far as I'm concerned. However, at the same time, he is, in my recollection, always a villain in his films. He's always an antagonist. He should really stay that way. Because this particular movie, whether it be the writing, the directing, or the type of character he was playing, was the blandest, most wooden, and uninteresting performance I have ever seen in the man's career. And I can't tell you how disappointing that was, because I thought, when I realized what I was getting into, I thought he might be the one redeeming factor. But as the non-plot of this movie continued and dragged, and his performance didn't change, and we were getting to a point where we needed a finale. Little spoiler, we don't get one. This is just a series of events tied together. There's no real expression of a passage of time, which was also a huge hang up for me for something like this, because yes, things are falling apart, but you really have no idea how much time is passing. There's only one reference at the tail end of the movie about a period of time that passes within the confines of the movie, not from start to finish, just this little chunk. This could have been over the course of a week, 6 months. We don't know. And for me, that kind of thing hurts the narrative. So, blah. You thought that the horror train had come to the station, come full stop, didn't you? Well, no, we did not. We got horror. This one, this is from, what was this? It was May, right? A little bit way back to May 17th this year. We have directed by Rennie Harlan. This was my introduction to a franchise. Entry number 3. And I thought as a prequel, it would be a safe bet to go in and check this out to start to see if I might have interest in pursuing any of the other films. And this one is Strangers Chapter 1. Now, in going back and listening to people talk about this film, although it is a prequel, it might as well just be a remake for the most part. But if you want to talk about a film or a storyline that is replete with people just doing the stupidest things for nonsensical reasons and hoping for a good outcome, then this is the movie for you. If you want a horror film filled with every, for the most part, cliche that you could possibly gather and bundle it all in one package, this is the film for you. If you want to talk about having every predictable circumstance thrown at you at one time, once again, this is the movie for you. If you want to talk about the nonsensical reality of a couple staying in a cabin in the middle of the woods and have not once but twice, maybe 3 times now, because it's been a while since I've seen it, a vehicle drive up late at night to this cabin in the middle of nowhere and have nobody in the cabin actually hear it approach, one of which being a motorcycle. This movie's got that for you if you like that kind of thing. If you want to see a movie about a person crawling around underneath a house on hands and knees trying to stay silent to avoid a killer, and if you anticipate there's going to be a random nail sticking up somewhere that person's going to crawl over and stick right through their appendage somewhere, well, guess what? That nail pops right up the second you have that thought, and guess what? Like a moth through a flame, that person is drawn to it. Holy crap. Was this just a load of such? No bad. I will still watch the original film. The consensus seems to be that the first film is still great. The second film apparently is crap. The prequel I've only seen, and I'm going to say it's crap, even though some people, 2 or 3 of them, seem to like it. Well, it's not for me, and I'm done, so out. And can we just say for a second that star Madeline Petsch, P-E-T-S-C-H, is a major hottie, so one redeeming factor. Traveling back in the way back machine to March of this past year, we have a movie that has sparked minor internet debates. Is it horror or is it not horror film? And directed by Michael Mohan, that particular entry is Immaculate, to which I say it is absolutely not a horror film. It is a religious thriller. There were no horror elements to this film. There were no scares to this film. There was boring to this film. Absolutely dead, dull, nothing burger with no solid performances, no engagement, no anything. Even the lovely Sydney Sweeney, for whatever intents and purposes people happen to like her or not, offered nothing whatsoever. No appeal, no enjoyment, no anything. An over-the-top, implausible ending about a woman committing feats in a condition that she should never have been able to under the best of circumstances, with a crazy little twist ending that was kind of shocking and to a degree for what it was, which is fine, might be the only redeeming quality of the film. and it just ain't worth it, and I'm glad it's gone. That's it. Up from September 27th of last year comes from Dinesh D'Souza, what may or may not, or might as well be, a horror film in itself, because it's sure not the documentary it was presented itself to be. And that is Vindicating Trump. I don't know if it's possible to have a circle jerk focused on one person, but why the hell not? Because that's exactly what this film is. It is not a documentary. This is a film that is presenting itself as factual, where 50% of it is dramatic recreations with no foundational basis in reality or truth offered whatsoever, intermixed with the circle jerk interviews of people standing around and patting a man on his back for things. I'm not going into any kind of political tirades on my channel, and I'm certainly not going to go into it in this ranking, even if I was going to review this movie. As a review of this movie, which I'm not going to give, I'm giving a basic summary. This is not what it was promoted as. This, as a narrative, was a lie. It was not a documentary. It was 50% fiction interspersed with spin interviews to make one person look as most appealing as possible. Whether or not that side of things are factual or not doesn't really make a damn bit of difference to me, because that's not what this is about. This is about strictly honest representation of a piece of film not being what it was represented as, and being an open-minded person walking into this thinking I knew what I was going to be getting, and I was open to listening to discussion interspersed with let's just say historical documentation to back it up, and giving me a narrative sequence of events over the course of however long a period of time it was going to represent. I didn't get that at all. Now, there were a couple performances on the fictional side of things that I found entertaining. And had this been a film that was represented as a fiction, not a documentary, I could have seen myself enjoying something like that. There was one character in particular that just had me laughing every time he'd show up, because he was just this out of place character in a world not the kind of person you would have expected him ultimately to be. You know what? And he was fun for that. So respect. So without wasting time looking into this, shame on you for Internet Movie Database for not being more thorough in your listings, because that's bad. And so was this film. Going back to the first film likely that I saw in 2024 for January 5th comes a horror movie. How about that? Directed by Bryce McGuire and starring, I thought was pretty decent, Carrie Condon. This is Night Swim. Night Swim being about a family who moves into a house that has, well, let's just say an evil spirit living in the swimming pool. Didn't really have a whole lot to offer, and consequently didn't offer a whole lot of entertainment value. It's fine. It's your generic run-of-the-mill horror film. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing inventive, other than the fact that we may have never had an entity living in a swimming pool before. Unengaging, uninspired, unentertaining. No bueno. Just not. Not a whole lot to say about it, other than the fact that it was just there and didn't work. Which I think we're probably getting in the realm now of that line of film in my overall ranking, where you're just going to be, here's your moving on. Why does my ranking come so late in comparison to everybody else on YouTube who may or may not have done one? Well, the primary reason for that is I like the whole year to actually conclude, so that I have an opportunity to see every movie that I want to see that's being released in said year. I'm not going to do my ranking halfway through December when there are still movies coming out towards the end of the year. Consequently, there were a few that came out after that. When I see YouTubers slapping up rankings for the year when there's still movies yet to be released for the year, it's just irresponsible, right? So, this next one on the list is the prime example of why my review or my ranking comes later, because this film came out, I want to say, on Christmas Day. Let me double check that. December 25th. I actually saw it on New Year's Day. I thought it came out on New Year's Eve, but wasn't able to make a screening for that. So this film, directed by Helena, I'm sorry, I am not going to pronounce this correctly, Rein, Reijn. These letters don't go together in the American English alphabet. But this is the Nicole Kidman erotic, not so erotic, thriller, not thriller, drama full of it, Baby Girl, in which she looks great. She's got a great role. She's got a great performance. Co-starring Antonio Banderas, who also offers up a great performance. And that's all the good I can say about that. The entire premise of the film, being that one of an erotic drama or thriller. Let's see what it's classified at here. Usually there's something here that lists that on the page as far as what it's tagged. Crime, drama, mystery, thriller. Nothing about erotic. Well, there wasn't anything thrilling about this thriller. There wasn't anything mysterious about this mystery. To my knowledge, there wasn't any crime in this crime film. Plenty of drama, so I don't know if I can trust the genre ratings on the Internet Movie Database. So the one thing it wanted to be isn't listed, and because it failed, 3 of the 4 others didn't actually apply. Yeah, just a completely unbelievable, unengaging film that failed on every single level whatsoever, other than to, you know what? I don't even know. Nicole Kidman looked great. Yeah, respect her. She's 57 years old. She's looking great. She apparently didn't shy away from some of the more revealing scenes that are depicted in the movie, which initially, with the way it was written and portrayed, it looked like they might be trying to be more discreet than would have been otherwise believable. But that ended later on in the film, and things were far more, I'm not going to say graphic because that's not the proper word, but it is just a revealing. And that was about the only thing the film succeeded at. Well, I said, kudos to Kidman and Banderas. Likewise, the rest, bleh, nope. Back on the horror train again from June 7th of last year. We're looking at a film that had, by its trailer, an intriguing premise behind it that might be worth exploring, but however, just furthered the decline of the Shyamalan brand name. This one directed by daughter of M. Night, Shauna Shyamalan Ding Dong, starring an unfortunate, likewise decline in performance from Dakota Fanning. It's a shame when promising child actors who garner all kinds of fame and prestige for their great performances then become adults and practically sleepwalk through the rest of their adult career thus far. But we're talking about The Watchers here. A film that I found rather intriguing based on the premise offered in the trailer. And a film that maintained most of that for me up until the final act, where I thought the ultimate reveal of things and the ultimate conclusion of things was a huge disappointment. So we have 2/3 of a pretty decent film that just fell apart for me across the board. I found myself reminiscing about the early days of Lost, actually, when I started getting to that point where, you know, you've got this mystery of these people crashing on an island, being isolated from the world, and strange supernatural-esque events going on around them. And then the discovery of the mysterious hatch and the journey to figure out what that was all about, and then to get in there and be like mystified by what's going on, only for that just to be the end of pretty much everything good they had to say or offer or suggest or ask of their audience, and then just shit the bed all over the place. Thus do we have the watchers, and that is why they will never watch it again. No more.